the CreditorWatch data indicates that that exit rate or that failure rate will only continue climbing this year. And I think what's really important to remember is that behind every statistic is a family or a small business and their employees. So these numbers are quite harrowing. There's a range of challenges affecting small businesses, the cost of doing business, energy, rent and insurance, and unfortunately that data confirms that it is going to get harder before it gets easier, and we really need to draw a light on that today.
Well, is there light indeed on the horizon now that consumers have the benefit of the recent stage 3 tax cuts and cost of living relief in the form of energy subsidies?
Kirsten, unfortunately, the latest survey that we did of small businesses in conjunction with Square revealed that half of small businesses thought the next 12 months will be harder than the 12 months prior. So unfortunately, we feel things will get harder before they get easier. So despite some of that relief that might be there, we haven't seen any interest rate cuts. Inflation remains very sticky. That cost of doing business just remains very high. Plus, we've seen a really big push of new regulation and red tape that's really affecting small business. Let's remember here, small businesses don't have big internal HR teams or compliance teams, so they're really grappling with regulation with high cost and falling revenue, and that's a bit of a perfect storm at the moment that's really come out in those insolvency figures.
Luke, you were alongside business heavyweights at last night's Business Council dinner. How would you describe what some are calling a fraying relationship between business and the federal government right now?
Look, certainly what I observed last night was a very robust and open relationship between all parties in the room. There were representatives from both sides of politics, from all sorts of industries. It was fantastic for COSBOA to be present in a room that's usually for larger enterprises. So I think it was a frank and fearless exchange. Obviously, the Prime Minister and various business leaders will disagree on many matters. The PM made that clear. Whether it's industrial relations, whether it's productivity reform, there will always be differences of opinion. But I think everyone being there in that room together last night showed that at the least there is dialogue. And let's have those debates, let's have those discussions, particularly given the importance of businesses of all sizes in really generating prosperity for the entire nation.
Do you agree with the BCA view that business is a convenient scapegoat for government as it deals with rising frustration from consumers and voters with the rising cost of living?
Look, I think business is often the scapegoat to many people, to many stakeholders, be that on different sides of the parliament or different sides of the media or external outcomes as well. So look, that's all well and good. Big businesses, small businesses are pretty resilient. It's not necessarily a popularity contest. Advocating for good small business policy is about doing what's right, not doing what's popular necessarily. And I think to the credit of Jeff Colbert at the BCA last night, he did admit that often big businesses have scored a few own goals and have often been their own worst enemy. So I think that sort of transparency, that openness, that ability to have that discussion, I think that was quite well received. But certainly we do need to remember small businesses often are a bit of an unsung hero. We don't necessarily have the big annual ritzy dinner every year, but it's really good to shine a light on that last night. 40% of the workforce is employed by small business, 2.5 million small businesses, generating millions of jobs. So really important part of the economy.
There is a debate right now about forced divestiture when big businesses do get it wrong, when they've been proven to have exploited their market advantage. Does small business suffer when this happens as much as consumers do? And would you support forced divestiture being legislated to act as a deterrent?
Look, COSBOA supports really robust competition law. We know that competition reform has a really big role in ensuring that small businesses are on a level playing field. So to the government's credit, we have seen some good movement around payment times, making sure that large enterprises are paying small businesses on time, around procurement reform and making sure that small businesses are having a fair crack at the pie that is Commonwealth procurement. In terms of divestiture, I think we just need to be careful we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We need to make sure that we've got the detail around what's actually being proposed here. This could have unintended consequences, but I think what needs to be addressed here is really what's the low-hanging fruit? Where can we really give small business a fairer go in our landscape? The government's also designated COSBOA as a designated complainant under the ACCC, which allows us to raise issues with the competition regulator, use those powers they already have to get some real runs on the board, whether it's unfair contract terms or ensuring small businesses are paid on time and are given a fair go. they're the sorts of positive initiatives we really want to see focus and action on at the moment.
Luke Achterstraat, thank you.
Thanks, Kirsten.